Being stuck alive inside a narrow cave ranks among the most harrowing situations one can encounter. Cave horror stories such as the Nutty Putty Cave tragedy help people understand the risks involved in exploring the hidden beauty beneath the Earth's surface. Many cavers mistakenly believe that avoiding claustrophobic passages will keep them safe, unaware of other dangers that lurk in such environments. Here at the Faculty of Truth, we delve into the unfortunate story of the Ellison's cave tragedy, a tale that will be etched into the history for generations to come. What began as an exciting adventure turned into a nightmarish ordeal when two friends became trapped in a deep pit. Amidst freezing temperatures and complete darkness, they fought for their lives, clinging to a glimmer of hope for survival. On February 12, 2011, as winter waned but still cast extreme cold temperatures, 10 students, 5 boys and 5 girls from the University of Florida embarked on a caving expedition. Among them were 20-year-old lead planner Grant Lockenbach, boasting previous rock climbing experience, and 18-year-old student Michael Wayne Peary. Just weeks prior to the tragic accident, these two friends had explored another cave and were exhilarated by the experience, eagerly planning their next adventure. After much deliberation on their next destination, they decided to journey over 400 miles from the university to explore one of North America's most breathtaking caves, Ellison's Cave. Located in Walker County on Pigeon Mountain in the Appalachian Plateaus of northwest Georgia, Ellison's Cave, also known as a pit cave, boasts a formidable reputation. It ranks as the 12th deepest cave in the United States, featuring a series of underground vertical pitches, including the 2 deepest pits in the contiguous United States. Fantastic and incredible. These 2 pits lie on opposite sides of the cave. Nearby, and running parallel to Fantastic, are Smoky 1 and Smoky 2 pits. The perfectly named Fantastic pit plummets vertically for 586 feet, almost matching the height of 2 soccer fields. Alongside these 4 most famous pits, several other pits contribute to Ellison's Cave's allure, creating a mesmerizing solutional cave system formed with insoluble limestone rock. The result is a dark, echoing labyrinth with 7 distinct vertical routes to the cave floor and numerous horizontal passages, promising a captivating exploration experience for any adventurer. To reach Fantastic Pit, cavers must first navigate the aptly named Warm-Up Pit, which presents a challenge in itself. Upon reaching the floor of Warm-Up Pit, cavers encounter a cramped space known as the attic, from which they descend into the vast expanse of the gigantic pit. It's important to note that cavers entering Ellison's Cave confront wet conditions and freezing waterfalls cascading down the pits. Without extensive experience, proper equipment, and appropriate clothing, a trip may tragically end, as it did back in 1999, when caver Hal Bufford, while climbing the incredible pit, became entangled in multiple ropes and was stranded 140 feet above the cave floor beneath the waterfall. The incident resulted in a fatality due to hypothermia. On the previous day, February 11th, Lockenbach, Peary, and their friends arrived afternoon in Georgia and spent the night at a hotel near the wildlife management area where Pigeon Mountain is situated. The following day, they all eagerly got up prepared for the long-awaited trip. Dressed in casual clothing typically worn for prior caving expeditions in regions with dry and warm climates, it became apparent that they had not conducted thorough research before descending. Nevertheless, they grabbed helmets and ropes but opted to leave their phones in the car, assuming there would be no service underground anyway. As the group made their way up the mountain, they approached one of the cave entrances after hiking for almost an hour. It was their first time witnessing the entrance in person, and their expectations were met with a sight far different from what they had imagined. Instead of a spacious opening, they were met with a narrow, jagged crevice, only allowing passage for one person at a time with considerable effort. As they ventured deeper into the cave through the tunnel, it created a comfortable environment with enough space to maneuver. There were some minor downward slopes that required ropes for descent. Grant's previous experience helped the group in overcoming all obstacles and allowed them to enjoy the intricate formations deep within the cave. Despite the low temperature inside the cave, the group remained unfazed, fueled by their physical activity. After a period of exploration, the students arrived at the first pit, known as the warm-up pit, considered an advanced challenge. Opting to pause and regroup on the surface before their return, one of the students inadvertently dropped their backpack, containing essential gear needed for the ascent back to the entrance. The bag tumbled down a 125-foot deep pit. After deliberating their next move, Grant, assuming the role of team leader, resolved to lower himself down by rope to retrieve the lost belongings. Drawing from his past experiences, he exuded confidence in his ability to execute the descent safely. Lockenbach secured the rope to a nearby boulder. He noticed a waterfall cascading on the opposite side of the pit. Nevertheless, he failed to account for the depth of the pit, which caused the water to spread across the bottom, nearly engulfing the entire area. As Grant commenced his descent into the darkness, a chilling yet calm atmosphere enveloped the students, each exuding confidence in his climbing prowess. With measured precision, Grant slowly rappelled into the abyss, the cold intensifying as he descended. The distant roar of a rushing waterfall grew louder with each passing moment, though he could still discern the reassuring voices of his friends above. Halfway down, disaster struck. Drawing nearer to the source of the deafening noise, Grant found himself face to face with the wailing waterfall. Despite his efforts to evade the freezing cascade by swinging towards the cave wall, the inward angle of the cavern thwarted his attempts, leaving him directly beneath the icy stream. Typically, the water temperature inside the cave in summer hovered around 56 degrees Fahrenheit. Yet, on this fateful day, the water plummeted to the high 30s to low 40s. Grant's body quickly succumbed to the bone-chilling cold, his shivers escalating into uncontrollable tremors. Panic surged through him, his heart racing with adrenaline-fueled urgency. Initially, he contemplated descending swiftly through the frigid torrent, only to realize the water's relentless flow. Desperation gripped him as he resolved to ascend, but his efforts were futile. With adrenaline coursing through his veins, Grant attempted to maneuver his rope and harness, hoping to free himself from the entanglement. But his frantic movements only exacerbated the situation, entwining the rope tighter around him. Despite screaming for help at the top of his lungs, his pleas were drowned out by the roaring waterfall and his chattering teeth. Yet, his friends above heard his distress and shouted back in response. Without hesitation, Michael secured himself to the same rope Grant had used and descended to his friend's aid. Upon reaching Grant, Michael found him sluggish and disoriented, save for his violent shivers and confused gestures. Exhausted and barely coherent, Grant could only fumble with his hands as Michael relayed the situation to their friends above, leaving them relieved yet apprehensive about what would unfold next. As Michael endeavored to free his friend, he too became ensnared by the rope. To compound matters, his body was subjected to the same bone-chilling water that had already begun to freeze Grant. Recognizing his own immobility, unable to ascend or descend the rope, he began to cry out for assistance. Upon hearing his desperate pleas, some of their companions remained behind while others hurried to exit the cave. It took over 30 minutes for them to reach their vehicle and call for help. Meanwhile, deep within the cavern, the voices of Michael and Grant gradually faded into the abyss as the cold relentlessly drained their vitality. The frigid environment sapped their energy, compromising their respiratory systems and weakening their hearts. Approximately an hour later, the county's cave-in cliff rescue team arrived and swiftly initiated a rescue operation. Nonetheless, those who had left the cave for assistance reported that after around 30 minutes of attempting to communicate with their trapped friends, their voices fell silent. At 3:30 p.m., the rescue team descended into the pit, discovering Michael and Grant suspended from the rope. Even for the experienced rescuers, reaching the dangling bodies proved challenging, and extricating them was an arduous task. Despite their efforts to find signs of life, they found none. Tragically, it was too late. The rescue operation persisted for 6 grueling hours, concluding around 10 p.m. when they finally managed to release the boys from their perilous predicament and extract them from the pit. The loss was deeply felt by their families and the University of Florida community. In remembrance of the 2 young men who lost their lives, the Grant Lackenbach Memorial Fund and the Michael Pye Memorial Scholarship Fund were established to honor their memory.